the NHS come and do this as well. This isn't any Tom, Dick, and Harry. We'll have copies of their medicals complete for insurance purposes. It's run very professional. The main thing that someone told me was like, basically, don't care what people think.
But the last boxing question I got for you is, if there's anything in boxing that you could change, why or what would it be, and why would you want to change it?
So easy.
Right, we're recording. Let's go, Paolo. Thanks for coming on, mate. So
No
it's been a
problem.
while since we spoke. We've known each other for a while, so it's good to get you on and get you speaking.
Yeah, man.
Obviously, you're in the boxing game at the moment. You're
Mhm.
doing your thing with the Dons. But before we get to that bit, I want to just ship it back and let's like, go back to the start. Sort of a bit about you, how sort of where you grew up, how you got to like what you're doing now with the Dons. Obviously, I know you've had a few different things along the way, so it'd be good
Yeah.
to hear your story.
Yeah, man. So I obviously grew up in the same area that you grew up in, right?
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, no, like I grew up obviously, yeah, grew up in Harrow, which it's kind of like I suppose West London, maybe Greater London,
Yeah,
depends on
yeah,
what some people
yeah,
get thinking
exactly.
about.
The old
Uh,
Middlesex, but it's no longer
Middlesex.
no longer called that.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, like I said, normal growing up, really. Like say, growing up as a kid, I never really looked at doing this sort of thing. So even I always the thing is I always watched YouTube as a consumer. So like I was always
yeah,
watching different comedy skits, be it like videos in people that that's like people you're interested in that you just watch and stuff like that.
yeah,
And then I'll
100%.
probably say what we're talking 8, 9 years ago now. The journey started, and a couple of us that we all played PlayStation together, and we used to have some mental conversations. Maybe I'm not allowed to repeat them, but mental conversations on PlayStation. And we all sat there and we was like, would it not be good to do like a podcast? And at the time,
Yeah,
I was a bit skeptical of it. So that's kind of where it started. Because if we can go, if we'll start there. So, wh- like, I was a bit skeptical of it because, like, I was like, oh, everyone's doing podcasts, like, or like, I didn't understand it, and at the time, I didn't know how to edit. I didn't know,
yeah,
I weren't tech savvy with the cameras, anything like that. So I was like, who's going to do what? And luckily, at the time, one of my friends, Femi, was quite tech savvy with it. So he kind of done a lot of the things, and we was just talking in front of the camera. But then, obviously, as it goes on, that journey started there. That's where the media journey started,
yeah.
um,
Is
and
this
then
this is Waffle Top, right?
there's Waffle Top. Yeah,
So
it
back
is
back in the
making a
day, yeah.
limited return for 2 episodes.
I
Um,
know. But I've got it on my notes. I want to talk about that one
yeah,
because
yeah,
yeah, we'll get to that. But yeah,
yeah.
so yeah, so that was Waffle Top. Yeah, so you and two other mates, right?
Yeah, so to start there was three of us, and then it turned to two, and then it turned to
Yeah.
me and one other mate. So like there was
Okay.
four, and then it went to two basically.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but that was purely on maybe time and stuff like that. Like one of the guys
Okay.
was a paramedic, so it was difficult for him to
Right. Okay.
get there. And the other guy just, I think, obviously, he decided it wasn't for him anymore. So it was kind of
Yeah.
left with me and another guy, Donovan, who, and at the time I was like, when I start something, Jack, yeah, I'm on, like, I don't like finishing it halfway through, or like I feel like I
Yeah.
haven't got
Yeah.
everything I wanted to get out of it. Um, and
100%.
it's gonna sound mad because we can go on to it, but like I actually didn't take a penny away from that podcast, like a single penny.
Wow.
So,
Not
like,
nothing at all. No. Just
nah,
so what?
if
So
you
what?
go
Just reinvest in it or what?
reinvesting it into a craft, episodes,
Yeah.
everything else. In my head, I was like, I was more looking at doors that it could open for me and Donovan at the time because he was doing it, and where we could go. And
Yeah.
we had some good times on it. Like we featured in like a it was like a so Pop Brixton, like in Brixton, which is like a pop up box park basically. They
Okay.
had a film festival, and they were televising 15 podcasts as part of their film festival. they asked us to do one, so we done one for an hour. So got
Nice.
invited to do stuff like that. That was in front of like a decent crowd as well. It's
Decent.
probably one of the first times I've done public speaking outside of the podcast. It's very different, like us two having a conversation now to
Yeah.
going and doing it in front of 500 people. It's mad. Like,
Trust me.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like presentations, like having a chat like this. I'm cool with, like, it's not a
mm,
problem. But then put me in front of 10 people in a room and say, right, you got to do this presentation for X, Y, and Z, and why you want to do this. Well, you just freeze up. Like, it's completely, it's like a complete different feeling. Like, just than having a general conversation like this. It's weird.
I was always look. You know this anyway because you know me, but I was actually quite
Yeah,
quiet when it comes to that sort of things as a kid. I didn't have a lot of confidence and stuff like that growing up. Like,
yeah, yeah.
and that's something that come on later on in my life. But that was really when I stopped. The main thing that someone told me was, and obviously I know we've got a lot to talk about, but the main thing that someone told me was like basically don't care what people think.
People
Basically,
think.
the moment you
Yeah,
start caring what people think is the moment like you take people's opinions on board. Like I I've got to a point now, and it's not easy, but sometimes like I'm at a point now where I don't really care of somebody else's opinion in a respectful way, in the sense that I'm not worried what they think of me. So like
yeah, yeah,
I think because of that reason, I'm able to go on and film and do these things. And some people that some of my friends say to me like they can never get in front of a camera and talk and do these things, and do you know what I mean? And it's not easy, but I didn't learn it
no.
overnight. Do you know what I mean? It was something that come over time.
No, 100%, 100%. I think I'm the same, to be fair. But that advice there on, like, just not ignoring, but like you said, like, don't worry about what people think about you. Like, the
Yeah.
ones that mean the most to you is different, but the random person on the street and the
Mm,
people that view it and stuff like this, like, so
yeah.
so what? If you think about everything that everyone's gonna think of you, you're never gonna do anything in life, anyways. Like, you're constantly gonna be worried about one upsetting one person or not
Yeah.
being someone's cup of tea. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
man. Like obviously I'll go back to Waffle Top, but like to explain where I went from there. But just
Yeah, yeah.
to like say, like even in primary school, I wasn't confident. High
No.
school, I wasn't confident. I didn't feel confident in myself anyway. Um,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
others may have perceived it might have been different, but I weren't confident. And like even going into like college and all these things, and I'd probably say like when I become like an adult, to be honest, it sounds
Mm,
stupid, but like when I turned 18, 19, in those years, I kind of found myself a bit. And like you get to a certain age and you stop kind of people please and all these things, and
yeah.
like you know what I mean, though, innit? Like it's
100%,
people make mistakes.
100%,
I probably made the mistakes growing up, people pleasing, stuff like that, and
100%.
I just stopped doing it. Like, and I just started thinking about
Mm,
myself, and I was like, respectfully, even to this day now, it's like, and obviously, I don't want to fast forward too much because I do want to explain the rest of it, but
yeah.
so I will actually, and then we'll go on to it because what I was going to say was going to relate. But it's so easy to go off track, Jack. Trust me, it's
Trust me,
easy.
trust me, trust me.
Yeah,
It's
no,
so
but
easy.
yeah,
But
man. So
but yeah,
waffle top.
yeah, like I said, let's bring it back to Waffle Top. So yeah,
Yeah,
so obviously four of you, um, everything got in the way. So life and
yeah,
other
your life.
commitments, and
All still
obviously
good
just
friends. Yeah,
general
yeah.
things
Mm.
down to two people. And then obviously we'll touch on this, but obviously you moved on to other things now. Obviously you've got a couple other podcasts
Yeah.
that you look at that you do now. But I want to talk obviously about the reunion, the one sort of, it's a four-part sort of series, right?
I don't know. It's a 3/4 part. I'm not sure yet, but yeah,
Okay,
it's gonna. It's good. I've just said it's a limited series. I haven't, but it will be more than one
okay,
episode. I can tell people that.
okay.
Yeah, man. We didn't finish it on the. We didn't finish the podcast. As I said, the reason that this is important to mention is because when it would come down to two, we also had to learn to start doing a lot of things on our own. So where we
Yeah.
was four of us, the costs are split by four. When the costs are split by four,
Mm,
it's not really much of a hole in your pocket. Studio time, editing, all of these things cost. So I was like, when it come down to two of us, I learned to edit. I took the thing up of learning to edit, and I started editing all the footage on my own. And I cut out a cost of paying someone to do that. Some people might
Yeah.
charge between 70 to like £80 an hour to edit. Sometimes, depending on how long your clip is.
How long it is and that, yeah.
Yeah, and then you got to pay for the studio time. And I was like, if we're recording 4, 5, 6 episodes, because we used to record our episodes in bulk. So like
Okay.
we would do 4 episodes in one sitting in a day, and then we wouldn't have to come back for a month. Does that make sense? So like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and we'd save a bit of money as well, but it would still cost a lot. I mean, you're talking maybe per session, maybe £250, 225 a session. Like,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's a bulk session though. Like, but it was the cheapest way to do it, and then it meant we'd have to come back a month, but obviously divide that between the two of us, right?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and then obviously we carried on doing it for ages, and we've been given loads of opportunities. Life got in the way again for my friend who obviously I was doing it with, and he had to step away for a bit.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to carry it on without him because majority of the time, we were the ones that had done most of the Waffle Top episodes. So Femi and
Okay.
Nathan, who we done it with, done a couple at the start and then obviously dropped off for the personal reasons.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Me and Donovan were like, look, let's leave everything up, the social media, everything, go about what we're doing, take some time out. And that time out turned out from like a month to what, like a year. And
Yeah,
then I
yeah.
was like, obviously, and the reunion show was my idea and Donovan's idea because we never got to say goodbye properly to the podcast. And it's funny that because,
Okay.
like I said to you, we didn't take a penny away from it in terms of
Yeah,
profit. Like
yeah.
we got it, took out, we put back in. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but we felt like it was owed. Like we had quite a lot of people who would message us and say that they tune in to watch some of the videos and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
even if that was to 10 people, 15, 20 people, I felt like we owed it to them. And obviously with all the stuff I've learned since, I thought let's do like 3 or 4 more episodes. So that's kind of where the reunion's at, really. But it's going to
Okay.
be good. It's going to be good. A lot's happened.
Have them episodes been recorded yet, or
No.
are we
We're
waiting for them?
recording. We're recording in 2 weeks or a week, I think. A week. A week
Okay.
away. So yeah,
Yeah.
we're recording in a week away. It's a bit of a hectic time because I've got like another project starting up. But the thing is,
Okay.
do you know what it is? I have to put this out here because I got bantered for this quite a lot. But people people are like, you're doing like so much, and I'm like, so this new project has been in the talks for 3 years, so it's not something that I just
Man,
thought of
okay.
yesterday. So it's
Plucked it
been
out. Yeah.
we've been talking about it for 3 years. We just never done it because it weren't the right time. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm quite busy with all of that. So yeah, Waffle Top's probably going to get recorded in one. All the episodes will probably get recorded in one sitting. Um, but
Okay.
that way it would just save time and we can do
Yeah,
everything in
yeah.
one. We might get like 1 or 2 guests on, but
Okay.
majority of it is just going to be us two
Yeah.
talking. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. It's I've put like a couple of reels out, just
Yeah,
from like
yeah. I've
old
seen.
episodes that you've probably seen, and yeah, like one of them with our friend Veril on there. A lot of people are arguing on that. All comments are good comments, Jack. I'm just going to put that one out there
Trust
now.
me. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I remember.
Um,
Which one was that? Was that about the when you have an argument with your lads versus a wife or a partner? Is this the one?
no, that's China. That's a guy called China. The other guy, he was talking
Okay.
about a serious issue with homelessness, but how we perceive and look at homeless
Oh, okay.
people. And he made the
Right.
comparison
Okay.
in terms of people with houses and how drink driving offences being committed to scrutinising someone because they're drinking on the street. Like he made that comparison basically.
Yeah,
That
yeah. I see
comparison.
that one. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
And it
we've put
ruffled
a
a few
few.
feathers.
Yeah. So we've put a few reels out and just I'm looking forward to the reunion, but obviously I've been busy with so much. It's like it feels like if I don't do it now, I'll never do it.
Yeah, yeah. No, that do you know what? It's amazing, and it's probably the fact that you did Waffle Top, and obviously you learned so much from it, and like you said, because of the other people that dropped out, you had to pick up loads of different skills between the pair of you.
Yeah,
It's obviously helped you with the next bunch of podcasts that you've done. So forgive me if I've missed one out or any of them out along the way, but I believe obviously at the moment you've got Boxing Corner Casuals,
Yeah, that's the
and
bread
you're
and butter.
all
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and you're also part of Hooked Casuals. Is that right? Like you do like
Yeah,
a
so
weekly show with them?
Hooked Casuals is at Boxing Corner Casuals is the same thing. The guy that I do it with,
Okay,
we done a weekly show together, and we was streaming it on both of our platforms. But it made sense to create a sole platform for it because a weekly show comes out
right. Okay,
every Thursday throughout the year without a fail. Like an episode goes out every week. So
okay,
we basically the Hooks Casuals is not really a channel; it's like a joint thing of both of our channels. So it's basically the same as
right.
Boxing
Okay.
Casuals. It's easiest way to explain it.
Fair enough, fair enough.
Yeah.
And obviously talk a bit about like corner casual. So I'm assuming, well, let's say assuming, obviously it's about boxing. Obviously the clues in the name there. But like, what sort of things are you talking about at the moment? So how is it? Obviously, it's just yourself, and you're interviewing other boxers. I'm assuming. Like, what? How did
Yeah.
you get into that sort of avenue?
So I've always been a boxing fan growing up from a kid.
Yeah.
I'm talking like as old as I can remember. I watched boxing growing up, even if it was just from a Probably when I was a kid, it was from a casual point of view. You know, the big fights and
Okay.
stuff like that. And then as I got
Yeah.
older,
Yeah.
I started watching it properly. Uh, and I think where it started, sorry, where it started for me, yeah, that's where it started in terms of a channel. I was always people always talking to me about boxing and stuff like that, and then I was always going to watch fights as well, be it amateur fights or professional fights, even most
Okay.
recently. So I was like, I'll create a platform that gives boxers at all levels a voice. So if I do
Yeah.
interviews, I could do interviews with professional, semi-professional, maybe it's classified as unlicensed, but and then amateur fighters, and it's just about giving people a voice in boxing that may not necessarily get one. But obviously, with the pros, it was you get those opportunities because of all the recordings you've been doing. So like they see like a
Yeah.
body of work, and you're able to get on that. So um, in terms of the pros, I've only interviewed a couple of professionals, but like
Okay.
Ellis Soro, who's a
Nice.
cruiserweight boxer who fought Jay Opatea in Saudi Arabia, and
Okay.
then Fran Hennessy, who is her dad's Mick Hennessy, Mike, who is like a promoter, legendary promoter in UK boxing. His daughter's now turned
Okay.
professional. She's got like a WB. I want to get this right. WBA international title for like a women's belt now. So yeah,
Amazing.
they gave me like the biggest opportunities in terms of interview, and that's where it started. And that the platform is just kind of like I can do interviews like you're doing with me now with
Yeah,
boxing.
yeah.
So like yeah, like literally the same thing.
Nice, nice. I mean, I'm similar to well, I say I'm similar. I'm nowhere. I'm not similar at all. But when I was younger, I used to love boxing, and I still do like boxing. But I definitely class myself as a casual fan. Like
Yeah.
I'm the big fights kind of people. Like I'm the well-known names,
Mm.
and the stat cards. Like back in the day, I used to watch like Joe Kawasaki and the boxers like that. Like, he's probably one of my favorite from like my era
Mm.
of watching it, sitting down watching it with my granddad.
Yeah.
Um, but obviously, now, I enjoy watching it, and I enjoy watching all combat sports. To be fair, like the UFC, the boxings,
Yeah, yeah, same.
um, like Muay Thai, all of that sort of thing. I just enjoy that sort of like that combat sort of watching it and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. But you know, it's amazing that obviously, like, given the I wouldn't say like they're obviously they're not undervalued or anything, but those that don't have the opportunity to get onto the big stage and have their voice, obviously what you're doing with that is amazing. Like how many sort of shows you kind of go to? 'Cause I'm assuming you have to go to the shows to network with them sort of people and then and do the
Yeah,
interviews up front, or is it a case of getting them on and just having a chat on the podcast rather than interviews? 'Cause I know again, I haven't. I won't lie. I haven't seen you do it for a while, but I know you used to go to quite a few shows and actually interview at the
yeah.
shows.
Yeah, so that's something that was one of my resolutions in 2025 is to get out some more boxing shows
Okay.
this year because I
Yeah,
got
yeah,
I got really busy with like I will answer it, but I got really busy with all the obviously the stuff I'm doing now, which we'll talk about in a minute. But the
Yeah.
yeah, it was hard. So basically, you get like media passes. So they'll look at your
Okay.
profile or interviews, or you can send them examples. So the easiest place to probably start are like the small hall boxing shows that are in York Hall, but they're professional.
Yeah.
You get your media passes there. You turn up there. You do 5 or 6 of them, 7 or 8 in a year, dependent on how many you feel is right for you to do.
Yeah.
You obviously then just once you've got the media pass in, a lot of fighters will talk to you, if that makes sense. So
Okay.
that's pretty easy to get hold of, like fighters talking to you and stuff like that. Um, you have to go to a lot of the boxing shows or the media days. The media days are quite good to go to. A lot of them you need passes for, but Queensbury and Matchroom, a lot of their shows you'll need media passes to get into stuff unless they do like open workouts. Um,
Okay.
Boxer, the platform in Boxer, which do their show on Sky Sports.
Yeah.
They will have a lot of their workouts and media days are open. So like their last
Okay.
media day I went to was in Box Park in Wembley.
Oh wow.
And people
Nice.
are just eating their food, and Johnny Nelson's like standing there just interviewing like whoever he's doing for Sky. Like there's no
Really
barriers as well. There's no barriers. There's no security near these people. They are literally like
mad.
they're in the middle of Box Park.
And boxers got like some good boxers on their card, like some high profile as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah, yeah. These guys were. I went to one in. I want to say Croydon, Box Park, Croydon. Yeah, Croydon, and one in Wembley. The Croydon card
mm,
was Boatsi and Chamberlain, because
oh
obviously
big
Joshua Boatsi and not sorry, Joshua Boatsi and Dan Aziz were fighting,
yeah.
and the first fight got called off because of an injury. But before that, they had their workout in Croydon. So obviously there, I saw Isaac Chamberlain. I spoke to Isaac Chamberlain a couple of times now, but like Dan
Okay.
Aziz, Joshua Buatsi, all of them guys were there just working out, and they'll walk
Yeah.
past you as you're just in like Tesco, if that makes sense. Like they're that close,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah.
and they're all approachable boxers. Like, but so yeah, that was kind of you go into those shows, and that's where I've
Yeah, yeah.
kind of been able to build relationships with these professional fighters, and you know, it helps me get into a lot of places. And obviously, I'm doing a lot of work on the semi-pro scene now, so
Yeah.
that even that it got me into that doing that, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Because people started to see my work and reach out to me. So
Yeah.
like I said to you, the opportunities I've been getting over the years, I've had so many, but I would probably say I'm only benefiting from them now, and I'm talking that's 8 years of doing this.
Just planting seeds.
Yeah, man. Like it's, I don't know how to put it. Like the biggest advice I was given was that you've got to assume that you're gonna do you could release 100 episodes and nothing will come of it. As
Yeah,
long as you
yeah.
live like off that, then it might happen in 10 for you. Do you know what I mean? This is the
Yeah,
mad
yeah,
thing
yeah.
is,
100%.
but there's people I know that have done 5 and they're flying like, and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't put. I think the other thing you can't compare your journey to someone else's
Yeah,
at all.
100%.
So like, yeah, that's probably the other thing, most valuable information that I got told by somebody who's doing quite well in it,
Yeah,
is you
yeah.
can't compare your journey to somebody else's, because in six,
Every
seven
journey's
years
different.
time, somebody's going to be looking at what you're doing, and you know what I mean. So
Mm.
it's a cycle, right?
100%, 100%. I just want to take you back quickly on something you said earlier about, or a second ago, about obviously the boxer being approachable. So obviously, like you said, you've interviewed quite a few boxers, obviously Isaac Chamberlain and the likes. What's the hardest thing? Like obviously, I appreciate they're approachable, but sometimes they might have just lost a fight, or they might be so pumped up on adrenaline after a
Yeah.
fight. Like, what's the hardest things? I can appreciate, like I can imagine, like finding the right time to go and speak to someone
Do you
is
know?
quite hard.
Do you know what? I tell you, there's one thing I don't do, which probably makes me popular for some and unpopular for others. Is I
Mm,
don't force the conversation. So even if you're like a big boxer, but your attitude stinks, and I can see
yeah,
that you're like, if I approach you, like I'm gonna get like a bad response. You can normally read body language and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah.
You can tell if people want to talk or not. It's if you're the kind of person who, after assessing that, goes up to them and tries to stick a camera in their face anyway. That's not me.
Camera and a mic.
Yeah, yeah, like that
Yeah.
isn't me. Um, and at the same time as well, I think my biggest thing as well is uh, I can't even forget. Like, how do I forget this? Like, one of the biggest interviews I've done was with a guy called Bradley Skeet, who fought Bradley
Okay.
Skeet. He fought. He was the outright welterweight British champion at middleweight. He won the belt. Obviously, he used to fight with Frank Warren. I watched him growing up, and
Okay.
he told me he was like, the media are so important in this boxing thing. So like, he appreciates it, but not everyone's like that. So I think the hardest thing is probably it's assessing it. But when you do so many shows, you can kind of read people's body language. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think body language gives it away. I won't go up to anyone that doesn't really give me good energy off from the start, because
yeah,
I've just, one, not going to waste my time with you, and two, I can go elsewhere and find somebody
yeah,
else who's willing
yeah,
to talk to me. I don't.
yeah,
It
exactly.
sounds, maybe it comes across as a bit cocky sometimes or whatnot, but I don't. I don't want that fighter to. I don't want to give that fighter the impression that I'm begging them to do the interview, because it's not the case.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, no, 100%, 100%. Without naming any names, has there been an interview where it was just like you got nothing from them? It was a bad interview, like they were rude or anything like that. Like how do you come up? Like I'm assuming you've had some of them, and I'm not saying you got to name names because obviously you've
Do you know
got
what?
your
You know
reputation
what?
to think about. But
Yeah, I'll tell you something now. I had somebody. I had somebody. I can tell you the show it was. I can tell you where it was, and they fight
okay,
on that card. Uh, but I was at a
okay,
boxer. I was at a boxer event in Croydon, and I approached a male fighter. That's all I can say. But there's a male fighter for an interview. Uh, but one of the media guys, one of the guys that runs media for Boxer, he also, the studio that I used to record, he runs. So I've known that guy for 7 years.
okay,
Dan, he's on
right,
Filthy
okay,
Fellas. So he's on Filthy Fellas and all these other platforms. His name's Savage Dan.
yeah, yeah,
So he was like, he's the one who got me into the box park presser, if you want to call it, at Croydon, and was telling me, speak to this person, speak to that person. Like, he was really helping me. So obviously he's told me to speak to this individual. So I've gone to approach him, and he's kind of just looked at me, ignored me. Like, no, looked. I've said like, oh, how you doing, so and so. Can I get a word with you quick? Like, I genuinely like him as a. I still like him as a boxer. I just don't like him as a person. But he's a very
yeah,
good
yeah.
boxer. So I think you're like good at what you do and stuff like that. And I'd love to get a couple minutes to talk to you. And he kind of turned around. I can't even tell you what title he was holding, because that would give it away. But he turned around, looked me like up and down as if I was like dirt on his shoe, and just walked off. I was
Oh,
like, wow, yeah, yeah. I was like, wow. But then at the same time, I'm like, the media is part and parcel of everything else you do. So I do
yeah,
think sometimes some fighters have the steadiest attitudes towards media, which I think, that's their choice. But at the same time, you want these people to speak up for you and give you the platforms. If you if you
100%.
annoy everyone and get onto everyone about it, and don't do for, I suppose it's like a favors thing. Like, if you don't help them out in the long run, they won't help you. Do you see where I'm coming from?
100%.
So you shoot yourself in the foot. The boxers need the media so that they can get out there, and 95% of them are cool, but you do get the 5% that
Yeah,
are, they think they're better than everyone else, and that's fine. But I'm just
yeah,
not
yeah.
that person that's going to beg you for an interview.
No, 100%. Is there someone that's on your radar that you really that you haven't had the chance to yet, but if there was like the dream person that you could interview, either
Yeah.
before, after, during in
You know
a
what?
fight, have you got one?
Yeah, do you know what? I would love, there's two I've got. One's like an up and coming. because he's like
Okay.
causing like seismic waves in like heavyweight boxing is Moses Atuma. He's
Yeah, yeah.
19 years
Good
old.
fighter.
Yeah,
Good
monster,
fighter.
monster.
He fought a few. Did he? I can't remember when I watched him. I know he fought recently.
Yeah, he fought in
Um,
Saudi recently, knocked the guy out in the first round.
yeah, yeah. Absolute monster. Like,
Yeah, he's
yeah,
like a
big name in in
yeah.
boxing.
Like I was talking to somebody about it yesterday. 17 years, every 17 years, boxing spits out somebody who's going to be amazing
Yeah,
and great, and I
yeah.
think he's that person. Just didn't even like what he does, but anyway, he's one of them. I'll probably say that the guy that I would love to interview and sit down with. Um, do you know what? It sounds a bit corny and cheesy, but I'd love to sit and talk with Anthony Joshua.
Okay. Do you know what? That leads me on to a question, and I was hoping you was going to say one of the two guys, Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury, because personally, I'm an Anthony Joshua fan. So, like everyone you speak to, they're either a Fury fan or a
Yeah,
Joshua
yeah,
fan,
yeah, yeah,
and like I don't like Fury, but at the same time, he's a good boxer. Like I'm not
yeah.
taking that away from him, but like I just a few years ago, I'd wanted them two to fight because I had every confidence that Joshua was going to knock him out.
Mm.
But if you ask me that question now, I don't. I love AJ. Like, don't get me wrong, Anthony Joshua, but I don't see him winning that fight now.
I think,
Like,
yeah,
it's
I think it'd be Joshua's hardest fight. I think, I think that fight would be more difficult to navigate than Usyk. Um,
you reckon?
for Joshua, yeah, like because
Yeah. For Joshua. Oh, okay. Right. Yeah.
so I think for Joshua that would fight be more, and I mean that in the sense of like I think styles make fights, right, and I think Fury is a better boxer, but
Mm,
athletically and power, Joshua exceeds him in that department.
100%.
So
Yeah, 100%.
the only thing is, it's like how much has Fury got left? That's kind of my thing
Yeah.
because he looked in terrible shape against Usyk in number two.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
didn't look in great shape against Ngannou. That was before his Usyk first fight. The first Usyk fight he looked okay in, but he's
Mm,
not consistent with his weight. And I think as you get older, that surely has to your
yeah.
metabolism slows down, right?
Yeah. 100%. 100%. You just mentioned something there as well about the Usyk Fury, like the second fight. A lot of people were saying that it was a bit of a controversial decision. And again, like I said, I'm a biased, and I always will be biased against Fury. But I think Usyk won that fight. Was it by the 4 rounds? I don't think so. I think it was a lot closer. But like obviously, as a seasoned vet in the game, what was your opinion on that fight or
I
the
think
decision of that fight?
I think Usyk won by 3 rounds.
Yeah,
We
so you
actually
think
done
it
a
was
yeah
quite wider than
we actually
yeah.
done a
Okay.
live stream for it, which was a shocking night for us. Really bad. Everything went wrong with the recording. But that aside, we done a scorecard per round during the main event.
Okay.
We gave the later rounds. We gave one of them as a draw, but then I'd say that Usyk won the last 3 rounds comfortably.
Okay.
So for me, like I had Usyk winning by 3 rounds. So my
Okay. Fair enough.
scorecard, I think my scorecard was like 117 to 113. I think it was. Uh,
Okay.
yeah. So mine was 4 points difference, but the only difference with mine was I gave a draw instead of 4 rounds, whereas somebody gave,
Right.
I
Okay.
think,
Yeah.
yeah, one of the cards for the Fury actual fight was like 117-12 or something like that, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it was. To be honest with you, I don't think Fury done enough to even win. So I don't know how he can argue. At best, he could have hoped for was a draw, but then I would have thought that would have been
Yeah. Yeah.
harsh to give the draw to you. Give the
I
draw to
won't
him
take
because
that away from Usyk.
yeah, because he didn't do enough to win for me. So I think the right
Yeah.
man won
Yeah.
on the night. I think that guy will go down as one of the greatest. He has to. You need to give
100%.
him that now. He's undisputed. He's done undisputed at two weights. How can you not put him in that bracket?
Yeah.
Mentality
Nah,
monster as well,
100%.
man. Mentality
Say that
monster.
again.
He's a
Yeah,
mentality
yeah,
monster, Usyk.
yeah. 100%, 100%. Do you reckon it's the Dubois rematch for Usyk next and getting the IBF back, or where do you see
I
that?
I I know people talk about the controversy of the first time they fought with the low blow, but if you're talking
Yeah,
about boxing ability, I don't think Dubois touches him. Having said that, Dubois
100.
is very. This
Yeah,
is the best Dubois that people would get, and he's dangerous because of his power. So he is
yeah,
capable of catching Usyk. It's just obviously Usyk again. Usyk's, that's probably the only scenario Dubois might win in is if he stops him with a power shot, but he can't box Usyk.
yeah, yeah.
Don't think
No,
anyone
no.
can, to be honest. He, he's
He's technically he's just so good.
yeah,
And like you said, he's got that warrior mentality. He just doesn't give up. He's just
yeah,
relentless.
yeah,
But no, fair enough. But yeah, look, let's move on to the Dons. So the Dons Fight Club. Obviously you're part of the media relations team there. But as Dons Fight Club itself, like, talk to me. What is it? Why is it like?
yeah.
What are the plans for it? 'Cause obviously, it's I think it's seven episodes in now, like seven fights
Seven,
or
seven
seven
cards,
events.
seven
Sorry.
cards in. Yeah, well, it'd be seven in March. So there's
Okay.
six shows have gone. The seventh is taking place on the 2nd of March. So yeah, by March it'll be seven. So yeah,
Okay.
so Don's Fight Club is a recreational sports platform for boxing. Although I can't say that yet because it hasn't been announced, but there is another element of something big coming to the card on the 2nd of March. Actually, do you know what?
Okay.
I think I can say it because he's announced it on his story, so it's not a problem. But basically, they're bringing like a few kickboxing fights onto the card for the next show.
Okay.
So it's going to be a mixture of boxing and kickboxing. But the K1
Okay.
fights, so I believe, are professional fights. So we'll have a few
Oh wow.
professional fights on the card, so it elevates it a bit. But Don's
Yeah. Yeah.
Don's Fight
100.
Club is essentially started through SE Dons. SE Dons is for people that know is obviously the football platform that
Yeah.
they've got a Sunday League on YouTube. People know them as. They've turned semi-pro now. They started. DFC started with a lot of SE Dons guys going on the cards and fighting. So they were going. They
Okay.
had a lot of the SE Dons guys going on to DFC cards and boxing. And as it went on, the promotion grew bigger, um, and that was kind of the early DFCs. The production got better, um,
Mhm.
and it's just grown. Like it's a platform in probably some people say semi-professional boxing, some people say unlicensed, some people say white collar. It's a step above
Okay.
white collar, in my opinion, because we've had
Yeah.
ex pros fighting on the. Sorry, we've had semi-pro fighters who have the potential to go and fight pro. You can
Okay.
get ex-professionals on there that are not licensed. Ex-professionals can fight on these cards, so it's a step above white collar boxing. It's
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
level between, I would say, that level between amateur boxing and professional is in the middle of that, basically.
Okay.
The only difference with this level of boxing is what it does is it gives people the ability to sell tickets. So, like there's maybe criteria you have to meet to turn professional. If you can't meet those
Mm.
criteria for whatever reason, you can go and do a semi-professional show, fight in front of, depending on the crowds. But we've done cards that have estimated a rough amount of between 1,500 to 2,000 people turn up. So,
Nice.
you can fight in front of 2,000 people and feel like the man on the night and sell tickets
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
have your ring walk, and you can feel professional without being professional. Um, so that's the kind of the level that it's at, but it's good fights. Yeah, as I said, they've been running for seven cards will be gone in sort of March this year.
Nice.
But it was born from SE Dons, so that's kind of where it started, and it's grown since. And on the last card, we didn't have one SE Dons guy boxing on it, so it was just a
Oh wow.
DFC
Okay.
card full of
Yeah.
fighters.
Yeah.
We had female boxing on there, male boxing, Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
It was a massive card. I think there was what 13 fights on the last card. So
Okay. Wow.
yeah, but it's
And
born
how long?
from it.
Sorry, say that again.
And DFC is born from SE Dons, and it's like
Yeah.
a it's a boxing platform basically.
And how long ago? Like, when was the first card?
I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago. So
Okay, fair enough.
literally before lockdown 20 yeah, before lockdown they were gonna fight, they were gonna start. So I think it started just after lockdown.
Okay, fair enough. So what's the actual plans for it then? Is it to get it to like a professional platform, or is it a semi-professional platform? Like, what?
So so the
How
plans
far do they want to go
yeah,
with this, or do you guys want to go with this?
the plans are like really simple. Obviously, we are the biggest outlet for what we do, I feel like on this level of production,
Mm,
media production, the fight production on the night. I don't think anyone does it like DFC. You only have to come and watch your show yourself to understand. And I don't mean that in disrespect to anywhere else I've been. I just think these guys are we're all well equipped and organized. When I joined
yeah, yeah,
DFC, when I joined DFC, and I saw how it worked, and they're all well equipped, well organized. They all know what they're doing. Media is a big thing for these guys, obviously, because they run SE Dons. They manage a channel that's
yeah,
got 250,000 subscribers on it. The media has to be um, how do you put it, on top. It's got to be like top of the crop for them,
top
and
tier.
yeah, top tier stuff. And um, where we want to go with it, like we would love to go all the way. We're trying to be the biggest boxing show in the UK. That's where the heights are. The
Yeah,
aspirations at the moment is to be the biggest show in the UK. So that means, I suppose, eventually, yeah, professional. So,
yeah,
it's kind of where they want to go. We've got everything else there. The social media after DFC 6, we looked at the analytics of like our social media. We had over 5.6 million impressions and views on the channel from that one event.
Jesus. From that
So it's
one,
like,
yeah, that's
yeah, so
mad.
like we done really well.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was on a Sunday as well. It was on a Sunday in
Oh,
Maidstone.
really?
Yeah, at four
Man,
o'clock, the doors were like queues were going down the street. People really turned up for like either if they supported someone or they're
yeah,
just
yeah,
turning up because they love boxing. But the show itself speaks for itself. Do you know what it is? It's so hard to explain it, but it's like you have to come and watch it to experience like what I'm saying. Does that make sense?
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
it's proper. I don't know how to put it. Like you. I feel like it's a show that you can watch as with your adults. You can bring kids and watch it with kids. Like kids come and watch. Kids are allowed in
okay.
the shows,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah,
kids come and watch with their parents and whatnot. Is a really friendly show. We're talking about a lot of boxing promotions have uh the do you know what? I don't mind saying this because I've been to a lot of shows where there's a lot of stuff that can happen because there's drinks and alcohol involved. People
yeah,
start
yeah.
fighting. We've never ever had an argument or a fight at DFC outside in the crowd
Man,
ever. Never.
yeah,
Like, we've never had one incident.
mental.
It's mental, innit? Like I think that's
Yeah,
mad. Like, UK
at a
boxing.
boxing event where the testosterone is so high between everyone in there, like watching it, everyone gets
Yeah,
like
yeah.
jacked up, and you see. I mean, I've been to events at like the O2 and some smaller arenas, and without fail, one fight's going to kick off outside the ring. Like every show that I've been to, there's been some sort of argument or fight outside the ring.
Mm.
Is crazy, but where are the shows? Are they all in Maidstone? And can they be are they streamed online for like other people to watch it, or is it you have to come down to the
So
show to see?
so yeah. So to answer your first question, this year, a couple of the shows are going to be in Maidstone. They do move about sometimes, but at the moment, all I can say is at the moment the shows are in Maidstone. But we have had shows in London before and stuff like that.
Okay.
To answer the second question, we are exploring the potential possibility of doing streaming or pay per view. to be
Okay.
down the line at some point. But obviously, that is something that we, it's I suppose it has to be timing. It's got to be right
Yeah,
to do.
yeah.
But it's definitely something that can be done if that's what you're asking, and it would
Yeah,
be something
yeah.
down the line that I think we would owe it to people to maybe that can't get there and want to watch it, at home, etc. We've got a good
Yeah,
production
100%.
team, good camera production team, and people that are behind the wheel. So it's definitely possible. So yeah, like the live pay per views, something like even personally, if you're asking me, I think I would want it to happen this year, but it just has
Yeah.
to make sense with everything going on. Um, and because you want to put on the best card as well, like we want to give people that are paying to watch pay per views like the best boxing matches that we can match up. So we don't want to have any joke fights. That's another thing I
No.
will say. So Louis, so the guys that behind DFC, obviously, I do a lot of the media. Flips does a share of everything, but Flips is the CEO, president.
Okay.
Some people call him Dana, but he's the one that he's the one that is that's DFC CEO. Then you've got Louis who does all the matchmaking. So Louis is like a recognized professional and amateur boxing coach, and I think
Okay.
he's level 2 or level 3, and he boxes. He works out of a gym who partner with England Boxing and stuff like that. So he's
Nice.
run shows before, so he does all the matchmaking. And then obviously there's a load of other stuff in the background that we all kind of get our hands stuck in with. Don Strapsy, Donny, Drew Blue, however you want to know him, he does everything like alongside the SC Don's football. So whatever we kind of need him
Okay.
to help with, or he can help with, he'll just get involved with. George as well, or Big G, he gets involved heavily. So everyone does different roles. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, the pay per view is something that we want to look at. But Louis, I suppose we want Louis to, and we all want to be putting the best card on for people, because if you're paying 11 quid to watch it at home, we need to justify it.
Yeah.
Do
You
you know what
want
I
you
mean?
want to see a good fight. Like, yeah, you don't want to be watching nothing like
But
dead end fights
the
where
thing is,
boring
all of our
fights.
like, we could have put. I feel like we could have put the last. Personally, the last two that I've been involved with, I feel like both could have been pay per views. We don't put on bad
Okay.
cards, but I think we're perfectionists. So like we
Okay.
want
Yeah.
we as much as everyone else might have thought the last card was good, but once that's finished, in our heads we're like we can do better than that. So
Yeah.
that's the way
Yeah.
that we are. So it's like we want to make sure everything is top before for streaming it and stuff like that. And then the timing's got to be right. So yeah, definitely looking at it in the
100%.
future.
100%. No, I completely get that. So, just again going back slightly, you touched on where you're at the moment with obviously with Don's DFC, and you mentioned the different categories in boxing. Obviously, you got the white collar, amateur, unlicensed. What's that? Like, what? Talk to me. What is the unlicensed sort of like area in boxing? Because I know there's a lot of people out there that they look at unlicensed as like a back garden bare knuckle like brawl, but there's
No,
so much that I mean I don't know a lot, but I know there is still guidelines around obviously like an unlicensed fight. So
unlicensed,
what?
yeah, unlicensed boxing is. I call it semi-professional boxing, and the reason I do that is because it's not white collar boxing; it's a step above white collar, massive step above white collar. Um,
Okay,
But ultimately, the difference between the reason it's called unlicensed boxing in some people's eyes is because it's not backed by uh, uh, boards, i.e., be it a British Board of
okay,
Boxing Control. The only
yeah,
reason it's called unlicensed, so the British Board of Boxing Control will sanction all the professional fights in the UK, be it if they're at York Hall, Queen, O2, Wembley, wherever it is, the British Board of Boxing
yeah,
Control. Any fights that go on in England, in the UK, they will sanction it. They don't sanction semi-professional boxing. So there are boards at semi-professional level. They're just not accredited because it's politics. So
yeah, yeah,
accredited to maybe the standard that the British board, who are obviously the leading
yeah,
board in the UK for professional boxing, sanction stuff to. That's the only reason it's called unlicensed boxing. It's nothing to do with the way it's run. If you go to a show all the fighters have to do medicals before the fight. They have to sign a
That was going to be
waiver.
my next question. Yeah.
Yeah, they have to sign a waiver as well. They have to do. They check their blood. They get their blood pressure checked. They get the heart rate checked. They get everything checked before the fight. The NHS come and do this as well. This isn't any Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Oh,
Paramedics from
really?
the NHS come and do it. Yeah. So the NHS
Wow.
turn
Okay.
up. We're able to bring in 4 paramedics to a show. They'll come and do all of the fighters' medicals. The fighters will all sign something. We'll have copies of their medicals complete for insurance purposes. It's run very professionally. So
Yeah.
there isn't, obviously at an unlicensed level, you're not going to have maybe testing for performance enhancing drugs. I'll be honest with you,
Yeah.
because the
Yeah.
money's not there to keep an
Of
eye on people
course.
doing it. You just want to hope that people don't. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but you know, it's how do I put it? Yeah, it's when I explain it to you like that, unlicensed is like a term that is not fashionably used because it's not like a mess. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 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 100%. Because, like you said, you speak to people, and don't get me wrong, I don't speak to loads of people about boxing per se, but you speak to people, you go, oh yeah, so it's an unlicensed event, and straight away they think, oh, there's no healthcare there, there's no paramedics there,
Yeah,
it's disorganized, it's in the back of a barn somewhere, or it's in a
yeah,
car park with fences around it. But like you said, the only thing about it that's different from that step up to professional is the fact that it's sanctioned by that border control. And obviously there's more money in it, so you can do, like you said, you can do the testing for the drugs and that, or the performance enhancing drugs. But like you said, that for me, the main thing to take away from that is that the safety of the fighters is always paramount and is always there,
yeah.
regardless of whether it's called semi-professional or unlicensed. And that's the main thing at the end of the day. But
The only thing again, and the only thing I will say is anything happens to the fighters, be it in the fight or whatnot, paramedics are on the scene the whole night. We have
yeah,
paramedics there. So
yeah,
the myth behind that it's not a proper event, if anything, is it's just there's guys on our card fighting that could have gone professional or like they have the ability to go professional, but because they're not approved by the board to do it for various reasons, they're fighting on our shows.
they don't. Yeah.
But
No,
you
fair
know,
enough.
but I don't. If you've seen as well, this DFC is very different to a lot of boxing shows because the the man that runs it, Flips, is a massive fan of UFC. So you'll notice
Okay,
a lot of the mannerisms of the show and stuff like that are more based around like the UFC than traditional boxing, but it is a boxing show.
okay,
So even the way the belts are done, like the belts are like very much like a design of a UFC belt because that's just like
okay.
maybe our preference of we want to be a bit different to everyone else.
Yeah,
So, like,
yeah.
even like we do like even if you go on the page and look at the video for the pound for pound top 10, it's like the way it's done, you see it. It's like the UFC because we feel like we're quite unique with how we put our shows on, how we show our fighters, and how we do it. And we've got our own belts as well. We like and our own divisions. We've got champions. So we're really trying to be very different to a lot of boxing shows that go down the traditional, if you want to call it Queensbury route.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, amazing. I think it sounds, I can't say it looks, but it sounds, it does sound like really good. It
Yeah.
sounds like I need to get down and come and have a look at one of the fights or one of the shows.
Mm.
Because like I said, I do enjoy the boxing and I do enjoy, whilst I'm I don't know, like the casual fan, I do enjoy watching up and coming boxing fights because you do get some good events that sort of are on them shows. But I think what I would say is obviously boxing has changed a lot
Yeah, 100%.
over over the times, and obviously like you said earlier, you've been involved in it for so long, or you've been watching it for so long, and you've been sort of a fan of boxing, and obviously you've got into boxing now.
Yeah.
But what and like we said, the game's changed. But what would you say has changed the most in the game? And is it for the better or is it for the worse?
The best, the the biggest change, if you're talking about like the level, like I'm thinking of, you're talking about like the top level
Yeah.
maybe, which trickles down to actually the other levels, so it is relevant. But the best thing that's changed about boxing is the the revival of the Saudis.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
for
Which
me,
is controversial in itself, by the way, because there's a lot of people that don't think that, but I think it's amazing as well.
like
Like you're
we
getting the big fights now.
like last year we saw two undisputed title fights in the same year.
Yeah,
Dmitry Bivol and Beterbiev,
yeah,
and
it's
then Tyson Fury and Usyk. Where the
yeah,
hell have you seen that in the last 10 years? Do you
yeah,
see where I'm
never.
coming from? So it's like in 1 year, you've seen two undisputed title bouts. Um,
Yeah,
he do you know what it is? Yeah, like people just don't like change. Like I think like
no,
some people don't like change, and that's why they might moan about it. But and that's cool, that's fine. That you can do that, but you can't sit there and say that he's not done anything positive for boxing. You've got two of the biggest promoters in the country who 5 years ago hated each
yeah,
other.
yeah,
They say in interviews they wouldn't sit down and have dinner together. They're in rooms now where
yeah,
they're sitting
yeah,
down and having dinner together. They're in rooms where they're going to each other's shows. That's because of an individual who brought them together and said, "You lot like earning money.
yeah,
I like earning money. We want to give the fans a good show. I've got
yeah,
money. You can earn money. We can give the fans a good show. Everybody wins. Let's work
exactly,
together. Bury your
exactly.
hatches." And
I,
that's
w- I was listening
yeah,
to. Sorry, I was going to say I was listening to a podcast probably 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and it was with Eddie Hearn, and he said exactly the same thing. He said, I haven't spoken to the man in 15 years. Like we don't do business together. We don't speak. We don't we don't sit down at a table together, but we both want to make money. And like you said, and obviously the Saudis coming in and making that happen
yeah,
have brought them together. And they put on some good cards, some joint cards. Obviously, we had the 5v5 card that they did at the start, and then obviously now we're getting both Matchroom and Queensbury fighters on the same cards in Saudi, and it's yeah, I mean it's great to watch. Like, and the viewing and you might the casual fans that are converting over to real boxing fans is it must be like bringing the sport up massively just because obviously you're getting them good fights now.
Do you know what? Do you know what? Yeah, and it's another unpopular opinion that maybe the I'm I consider myself now. I haven't always done as like maybe a hardcore boxing fan, but there's a lot of
Mm,
people in my category that will disagree with me on this. But do you know what? The other thing that's kind of elevated boxing as well. I'm not a fan of it, but I understand where it has its place. YouTube boxing.
yeah, or like the Misfits.
I'm not a fan of it, but I understand it's got its place somewhere. So I understand
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
it gets kids into boxing. It gets like you can't say it doesn't have any effect on it because I would be stupid to say that. Do I think they're that
yeah.
good? No, but
No,
but but then at the same time, they they have created a market where like they're not saying they're part of the professional ranks, but they are professionals and they've gone and created their own
yeah,
board
yeah,
and they've gone, we're going to sanction our own fights. You can't knock them,
yeah,
really.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
No, you're getting a whole new demographic of people as well that would never watch boxing, like the professional
Mm,
boxing, because it's not them, but they're watching KSI, Logan Paul, and Jake Paul, and all
yeah,
these people that they look up to, and
yeah,
then that then transfers obviously because obviously you've got Jake Paul who's doing his thing and he's fighting UFC fighters and other boxers and stuff like that, and they're gonna go into them fields as well and start watching them fights because
yeah,
they're being introduced to it. So it's I'm with you. It's good all round. Like people, it's bringing more people into boxing, which is only a good thing, in
yeah.
my opinion, anyways.
Look, listen, I can't sit here and say that I watch the Misfits boxing, but and I'm not going to
Mm,
lie and say I haven't watched a fight before because I have, but I understand where its place lies, and I understand that
I'm
it,
with you.
it does hold value. Do you know what I mean? So I would say that probably the Saudis, in terms of the professional boxing, have probably been the biggest best thing that's could have happened to boxing over the last few years because they've put on brilliant cards for everyone to watch, top to bottom, not just like before the top three guys, the top two fights, all the money going into the main card the supporting main card, but the money's going into. You're seeing like potentially on certain cards, you might see, I don't know, Deontay Wilder fighting second. So, instead of fitting as a headliner, you've got the first fight of the night, then Deontay Wilder's on. Like you would never see that
Yeah.
anywhere else. Or like
No. No.
um Shakur Stevenson, who's on the pound for pound list, one of the best. He's not even main card on one of the Saudi cards.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Crazy.
yeah, like I said to you, it's yeah, man. I think those two things which you can agree on have been the biggest revivals to
Yeah.
boxing.
hundred
And I'm
percent.
here for it because as long as I'm
Yeah.
entertained and I can watch it, I don't care who's running it. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No. 100%. As long as you're putting on good shows and it's good for the fans, I think
Yeah,
that's the main thing, really, right?
yeah, facts.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, look, I don't want to keep you too much longer because obviously I know you're busy, but I've got two more questions.
Go on.
One about boxing and just one in general. But the last boxing question I got for you is if there's anything in boxing that you could change, why or what would it be and why would you want to change it?
Ah, so easy. One belt, one division. One belt, one
One belt,
division.
one division.
So I'm not a fan of the IBF, the WBO, the WBC, WBA. I'm not
Okay.
a fan of the IBO belt. Like, there's too many belts in boxing. That's my only criticism of it. And the reason I say that
Okay.
is because I feel like even with the Saudis' involvement, the biggest problem over the years, which Takeo Sheikh's managed to get over for the big fights, but in general, I think the biggest problem over the years, where they're not Saudi cards and they're whatever promotions cards, is the biggest problem is there's too much politics for the belts. The rankings are all off, don't
Yeah,
make any
yeah.
sense. If you go and look at the
Yeah, I
rankings,
agree.
Joshua could be ranked 2 in the IBF and he could be ranked 8th in the WBC. Like, it don't make any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't.
So,
No, I agree.
like, yeah, for me, do it like UFC, one belt, one division, or you have two belts in the same division. However you want to do it, but one single body controlling the belts because there's too many belts.
Yeah, yeah. No, do you know what? I think it's a money spinner really more than anything, isn't it?
Yeah,
For them belts. It just seems like I mean you've got the IBF, the like you said, the WBO, the WBO silver, the WBO bronze, there's so many variations of each
oh
individual
yeah.
belt as well. Like you
I
get
mean,
lost, like you get confused.
Emeritus, the WBC Emeritus title, like I didn't even know it existed till
Yeah.
Tony Bellew won it. See what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
I agree. Too many belts. That would probably be the only thing I'd change is the belts.
fair
I
enough.
think it takes out a lot of
Yeah.
politics.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Finally, last question is if there was one bit of advice that you could give someone that wants to get into the media side of boxing, into podcasting or what you do, what would it be?
My biggest okay, I've got two bits of advice because I think they're both very like valuable points. So I
Okay.
somebody one of them somebody told me, the other one I suppose I've just learned from doing it over the years. My first point would be like to be consistent, and I know it sounds cheesy and corny, yeah, but be consistent in what you do and don't give up because not
Mm,
everything happens overnight, and you can be doing stuff for 7 or 8 years before you see the benefits. So if you take like my journey, for example, I've only just started doing this stuff with Dons now. I'm still nowhere near
yeah,
where I need to be, by the way. Do you know what I mean? I'm
yeah,
still the way I look at it is I'm still working a full-time job. So for me, I've still got a lot of work to do. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's
100.
like, so I'm nowhere near where I need to be, but I've started getting opportunities this year, getting given stuff, but that's taken 6, 7 years to do. So
Yeah,
you've got to give a lot, and don't go into it like thinking that you're gonna be rich in one episode because or
yeah, oh,
whatever you're doing,
100%, yeah,
or not one episode, but whatever you're doing, anything you go into, don't think that you're gonna gain. It's like going gym. You go gym once, you're not gonna come out of a
yeah.
six pack. You know what I mean? It's like you've got to keep going.
Takes time.
You've got to keep going.
Yeah,
And
takes time, takes work.
yeah, man. My second bit of advice would be probably my second bit of advice, and I need to think about how to word this. Sorry, Jack. Um,
No worries.
I would probably say don't listen don't listen to other people when
Yeah,
you wanna be creative. Um, so, like, don't let somebody else's doubt and negativity block you off from doing something that you may feel will have a positive impact on yourself and
yeah,
maybe other people, and that can be taken into life as well. I think when people are negative towards you, it's because they come from a place of because they can't either do it themselves or they're not happy with something
yeah,
in their life, they project it on you. Um,
yeah,
that's kind of the best advice I can give is just focus on you. Don't try not to let people's opinions change the way you do things and do things the way you want to do it. That's probably something someone
yeah.
told me in so many words.
Yeah. Do you know what, Paulo? That's two great bits of advice, and like I said, I especially like the don't let people like don't take it hearted. Basically, is what you're saying, and
Yeah.
listen to the people that have negative views on you. Like I said, when you're doing something, you need them positive views. You want them positive affirmations, and you don't want the negative, and it just slows everything down for everyone.
Bro,
Um,
there's a difference between negative views and constructive criticism, yeah? So if I've got
100%.
people that are giving me constructive criticism, I can take it on board because it's people that are giving me advice to better myself. But if someone
Mm,
you can kind of smell negative talk a mile off,
bit of jealousy and
maybe yeah, maybe a bit of jealousy, maybe a bit of I can't do it myself. Why are you doing that? And why are you
yeah,
doing this? And I still get it now sometimes. You know that, Jack. But I just don't.
yeah,
I just don't listen to it, man. Like
yeah,
I might get people take the they might make a joke of something I've said or done, or they might I don't know, anything, and I'm just like, well, that's fine. If you've taken the
whatever.
time out to do that, then you sound like you're busy. Put it that way.
Yeah, yeah, 100%,
Yeah, yeah,
100%. No, brilliant. Well, look, Paolo, thank you so much for your time today. Obviously, what I'll do is in the bio underneath and in the podcast description, I'll drop down all your socials and everything. So if you
wicked.
send them over to me, but where can people find you? Instagram?
Instagram, I've just based it off my profile, which is Paulo Fernando with a Y on the end. Uh, and then obviously I've got Boxing Corner Casuals as well, but they're all linked on
Yeah.
my main page, so you can get access through that.
Okay.
Follow Don's Fight Club DFC as well, official DFC underscore. Um, as I said, anyone that wants to come down and experience what a night out of just good boxing feels like, and kid friendly environments, then reach out and we can I can put you in the right direction when tickets come out. So, yeah, like
Okay.
that as well, official DFC underscore. And yeah, no, I appreciate you. I appreciate you letting me come on today, man. This is good. And I'm as well excited to see where you go because I know you was talking about this before and
Yeah.
doing it and stuff like that. And
Yeah, man.
it's a new journey for you, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's a new journey for me. Like you said, I still have a full-time job as well, so this is like a little part-time thing for me. But obviously, like you said, it's all about consistency. So I'll be releasing episodes, hopefully on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
But like I said, so fingers crossed. So yeah, keep watching, and hopefully it will grow. But again,
Mm.
thanks so much again for your time, Paolo. I really do appreciate it. Send me all the links and that, and I'll whack it in under in the description, and then yeah, we can go from there.
No problem, man. Thank you for having
Perfect.
me on.
Cheers, Paolo.